day and a half, actually, we have been talking about tech to people from various HR practices. So, a day and a half later, talking to you about more tech tools, more ways, techs, and techniques, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm actually going to take probably a googly approach. I hope you like it. Go back 2,500 years ago to Sun Tzu. And she just mentioned the war for talent. How do you win any war? This man had already written the book. It's still a bestseller. There are 3 takeaways from this book. I'll look at each of them. The first one is about knowing when to fight and when not to. Which battles to really engage and which ones to not. I'll take the example of my own CEO here. He's Sridhar Vembu. And he said, I am not going to go to these metropolitan cities. I am not going to set up my office in San Francisco or Bangalore. I'm going to go to the rural masses. There is great talent right there. People want to stay close to their roots and want to work. Being a cloud company, if we can make that magic happen, there is enough talent out there, we can pick our battles. Here is an example. This is not technology, this is the technique. Number 2 was about knowing how to deceive your enemy, knowing to act weak when you're actually strong, and act strong when you're actually weak. Take the example of this North Korean company that I read about in this book. I don't know the name of that company, but it seems they had an amazing training department. They got students and kids and employees from all over the country and gave them amazing skills. They trained them with great capability. But very soon after the training was over, the eagles and the vultures, the other companies came and picked these people away. So many perks were offered, salaries were tweaked, but still this company was not able to block that exodus. The other companies were taking away all these students and employees trained by this company. They had a brainstorming session. They had a condolence session, perhaps, wondering what to do. And one of them quipped, probably angrily, I think we should all put them in a room and chop their legs off, because that's the only way we can keep them from leaving the company. And that actually morphed into the real idea. They started recruiting only people with disabilities. And this company, incidentally, happened to be the only accessibility-friendly, wheelchair-friendly company at that time. So automatically, the employees were held back in the organization. So deception. The third lesson from that book is about knowing your enemy, knowing yourself. If you can do these 2, you can actually not worry about the result of 100 battles, the quote says. I'll take you all the way back to Apple in the 80s and 90s. It was a company filled with a lot of products. It had as many as a dozen products with very little differentiation from one to the other. Along came Steve Jobs, and he said, let me make it very clear, guys. We're going to make one computer for pros, one computer for beginners, one computer that will be fixed on a desktop, and one computer that will be mobile. Simplicity. So turning the camera on yourself, putting a mirror, standing in front of it, and doing serious soul searching will actually solve half the battle for you. When I started preparing for this talk, like everybody else, I went to Google too. And I started asking, okay, let's talk about probably 4 topics that are very important in this HR zone. So I said 4 major functions. What are the things that we need to really keep in mind? I got a link. On a whim, I searched for 5. I got a link. I searched for 6. I got a link. And all these are famous publications. I searched for 7. I searched for 8. Probably one of them was written by you. I searched for 9. I stopped searching there. And there I decided, okay, let's probably choose 6 things that we can talk about today. Probably not really technology or technique, but a state of the affair and the relevance of human in the word human resources. So I'm going to talk about 6 things. Number 1 is about recruitment and selection. And just a walk down this corridor will show you how many new technologies have evolved, from AI to background verification via camera, via second camera, via voice synthesis, whether the person is lying or not, all that. I saw this news item recently, just a couple of weeks ago, about how this non-IITian has rejected tech giants to join Facebook for a whopping package. The word package really drew my attention. It's not about the salary. It's probably about the culture. How do you evaluate culture using technology? It's not about the perks and the perquisites. It's about the environment. Previous speakers have talked about that too. So this left me wondering, how are we going to offer that? Number 2 is about performance management. We think it's a once-a-year thing, but more important are those micro messages, the nudges that you can offer, the environment shaping that you can do to ensure good behavior, great collaboration. Because today, the biggest challenge for me at least is ensuring my teammates don't compete with each other. They have to compete with companies outside. They have to collaborate and cooperate instead. Here is a news item for you about performance appraisal. The shadow of COVID is still there. Just a couple of weeks ago, this went too. Who gets the better performance appraisal? Is the person who comes hybrid, remote, when they want? Or is it the person who's there at office every day? I'm able to see that person. I'm able to see them at the desk every day. Should there even be a difference? But evaluators being human, there is this political injection that happens even without your conscious knowledge. Big challenge. How about this one? Learning and development. It is a very important piece, sometimes neglected in an organization actually, comes under the umbrella of HR. We used to think that it's a good place to probably upskill, side skill, continue learning on the go while you are at work. But today, see what Forbes is saying. It's saying it is becoming a competitive differentiator. Can you provide a learning environment to the employee every day at work? It is a competitive differentiator. Number 4 is about succession planning. We think we have struggled hard, filled every node in the tree, put a beautiful hierarchical structure in place. Along comes one random offer, somebody is unwell, somebody leaves, somebody has to move to a different country, and the whole tree starts shaking up. It may be easy to put another person in that place, but how are you going to ensure the chemistry really grows back? It's not paint you can apply. It is patina that has to grow over time. Again, all of you remember what happened here. Suddenly he declared that his children are going to take over large slices. How many dreams were thrashed and how much bad blood flowed? What really happened? It must have been a HR nightmare for this person. Can technology really help situations like this? Compensations and benefits. We have companies, we have SaaS companies just focused on this. The non-monetary aspect, the monetary aspect, the little on-the-go things that go along, the once-a-year thing. A company in Chennai did this. It's a 15-year-old company, and it wanted to thank the employees who have stuck through thick and thin. And it said, I am giving a BMW to every one of those early employees. There were 6 people. One of them left and came back. Did he get the car? Should he get the car? Think about that. These are human decisions. Technology cannot help here. And finally, HR, data and analytics. Over time, we have all come to realize that every HR person has to actually be a data scientist. Because he or she actually gets to see, gets to hold in their hand the maximum amount of data that a company can actually create. We think a person's leave status or number of leaves that they have actually taken and number of days off they have taken, their in time, their out time, their contribution to the employee intranet forum, and the number of external voluntary activities they have done. None of these are connected. But actually, if you use a big data tool on this, if you have a critical mass of employees, and if you have benchmarks to actually bank your insights on, you will find out the next CEO there. You will find out the next traitorous person there, hiding. You just have to look with the right tools. Again, McKinsey is now looking at AI tools to actually handle this great resignation wave that's happening. So we saw these 6 dimensions of the HR practice. I'm going to take you a quick trip back in time. I'm going to take you all the way back to 1984. Steve Jobs was actually launching the Macintosh to people who didn't know what a computer could do. And he actually launched an advertisement campaign that is even today hailed as perhaps one of the world's best. Somehow his eyes fell on some research journal, Scientific American article. In that, the scientist who had done the research had compared the energy efficiency of living things. How much energy a particular living thing uses, expends, wastes to move from A to B. The worst of them all, if you watched Man vs. Bee in Netflix, you would realize the worst of them is the bumblebee. It expends too much energy. In fact, they say it has to keep collecting honey so that it can keep collecting honey. That's what they say. That's very bad. It takes too much energy to move from A to B. A little better than that is the mouse. A little better than that is the pigeon. It's getting more and more efficient. And then comes the cow or any quadruped. Then we get to man, somewhere halfway in the chart. Human beings, bipedal. I am built for walking. I move quite efficiently. But far more efficient than man is the horse. Even more efficient than the horse is the shark. And the top of it all, least energy expenditure for any living thing to move from A to B is the giant condor bird, the American bird, condor. The game didn't stop here, though. One scientist from NASA did a very small tweak to this, and this is what Steve Jobs alluded to. The tweak, anybody knows what the tweak was? He made a little tweak. He made one additional living thing measurement. And he found out that this was the real winner. By far, blows the competition away. And that tweak was a human on a bicycle. It's not cheating because it is still human energy. It is not battery powered. It is not fuel powered. It is still mechanical energy, but because of the levers, because of that simple machine, the pedal, it blew the competition away. Not even the condor could hold a match. And Steve Jobs said, I am launching a computer, and this is what I want you to look at it as. This computer is like a bicycle for your brain. You see that pitch? I am here to tell you technology is like a bicycle for your HR brain. You already have an intent. You want to do things. You don't want to make mistakes. Technology will help you there. You want to do them repetitively without getting bored. Technology will help you there. You want to do them fast. You want to do, even if you are absent on a day, you want to be able to be replaceable. Technology will help you there. And finally, many of us stop here, but finally, there is one additional thing technology can help you with. That is, it gives you time. It gives you valuable time where you can actually interact with people and work the human aspect of your process. We saw all these six: recruitment. Yes, there are AI tools to process thousands of resumes and identify the best, the outliers. We saw performance management. Even things like how you talk in the open house can be tracked today. We saw a voice-to-text system just a while ago talked about. So all these can contribute to a big data that can help in performance management. Learning and development, thanks to COVID and all Zoom tools, today the classroom is the size of one. A single student can be sitting wherever they are and they can learn courses, they can learn from their alumni, they can learn from case studies ongoing in the environment. Succession planning can be done, scenarios can be run. You can appoint somebody as the CTO and COO and see how things will flow in the next 5 years. Scenario planning. And compensations and benefits and HR data and analytics. We saw all this. Tools, techniques. But all good, but wait. I want to leave behind two little thoughts. When I started my talk today, I used this background: digital, electronics, lots of neurons firing, linked, internetworked. But I used it for a specific purpose. I wanted to end my talk with a zoom out, the so-called big picture. You know what that picture actually is? This is what it is. This is what HR is. Let's not forget. Shaking hands, getting physical, talking to that person, meeting them in real life, not sending an email when a meeting will be more useful. So I went looking at the word digital. I tried looking at the Oxford Dictionary. Where does that come from? Digit. It's not 0 to 9, for God's sake. It comes from the Latin origin, digitus. Digitus is finger. How are you touching your employees, your colleagues, your prospects? How are you connecting with them? That perhaps is more important as a leave behind or a takeaway. The second thing I wanted to talk to you before leaving was this Doha by Kabir from 500 years ago. Dheere dheere re mana, dheere sab kuch hoy. Somebody wants to complete it? Thank you. Mali sinche sao gada. The gardener may actually pour hundreds of pots of water, but when the season is in time, the apple will anyway appear. Because technology has this bad habit of exponential speed. Everything at the breakneck speed. Alice in Wonderland had that amazing quote about you just have to keep running at your fastest speed to even stay at the same place. But let's not forget we are dealing with human beings. Their heartbeat hasn't changed in millennia. They have their own pace. And so, yes, you may be impatient with the implementation of a technology. You're welcome. But you can't be impatient with the adoption of a technology. You're dealing with human beings. When it is time, the fruit will anyway come.
How is trace, like big data is next big thing, but sometimes we don't get relevant data.
Okay. You're talking about data and your inability to get to it. Yes. So it might sound like selling, but I am from Zoho and we are a sponsor here. I think it is important for you to pick the right tool. It might not work out for you if you pick one tool for HR processes, another tool for recruitment, another tool for intranet management, another tool for project management, another tool for leave tracking. There may be tools, individual tools, but like that famous slide we saw a while ago about a screw and a hammer and a nail and a spanner, you need to have the right set of tools. Zoho's tools, there is a booth around the corner. You will realize that there are 50 tools acting together and hence sharing data. So imagine being able to identify a person who had applied. using your HR openings portal, right from that moment, being able to transfer that person into an employee, and 5 years later, being able to see how that person performed in the interview too, whether that was his first or second attempt at getting into the company, all the way to today, which projects he has succeeded in, how many leaves he has taken, how many voluntary out-of-the-box contributions he has made. Being able to get the full picture, I think the right set of tools will help you. Thank you. Also, the other thing is, we think, probably wrongly, that AI is all about data. Today, the big craze, very soon you will see companies talking about it, the big craze is about coming up with AI insights with very little data. Self-learning tools are now coming. So that will be the next way. Thank you.
So we have another one.
Just a quick question. I think all of us wants to do technology and deploy some platforms. The issue is adoption, right? And if adoption is not picking up, you won't get the data. If you won't get the data, these tools will not learn on their own, right? Because we're talking about deep learning, machine learning, etc., which needs a lot of data. Employees have to come and do certain actions on these tools. How do we solve that adoption conundrum? Because we can deploy multiple tools,
Good
one
question.
platform,
Yeah.
but
Good question.
Yeah.
I think the reason ATMs really became popular was we didn't want to stand in queue, meet the clerk in the counter. We wanted to do it anytime, at our own pace, in our own privacy. So self-help tools, and tools that empower the bottom of the pyramid. An employee who joined yesterday can actually create a form and share it with his or her colleagues, create a special interest group, run I want to teach, probably this guy might want to teach Ruby on Rails. Do you have a platform that empowers the employee who joined yesterday to fiddle with the system and not use it as a tool but as a platform? So look for tools that allow you to do that. You will automatically, it's the unconference mode versus the conference mode, where everybody sits in a round table and starts contributing. It has to start from the bottom. There is this very famous product called Slack. It is an intranet chat tool. The secret why it became such a runaway hit, such a viral hit, is it didn't start from the CIO recommending it to the company. Slack had a beautiful pricing model or onboarding model. 5 people with the same email ID can start on Slack. And they go to the water cooler and somebody mentions Slack, and this guy says, what? Slack? What a name, amazing name for a work environment, slacking. So this guy says Slack, and this guy has the same email ID as the other lady, and he wants to join too. And the CEO was the last person to come to know about it. So adoption from the bottom of the pyramid. I think that is a secret that we all have to explore and learn. And probably open up the data. Don't hoard the data just for the HR team. Open it up to everybody. Show transparently, because transparency is something we're not talking enough about. Show things transparently. This is our status. One little thing, at our lunch hall, we started having a little placard that said, number of kilograms of food wasted today. We started doing it, 10th day, we started seeing a dip. Just washing their hands, as they washed, they saw this placard. If you can share the data that you collect meaningfully, I think that will have an impact too. Thank you.